Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public meeting, and certainly to our viewers online. And we certainly hope that everybody's out enjoying the nice sunshine. So now I will bring this meeting to order, and the agenda is there before you. Could I have a motion to approve, please? Moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor King. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Minutes of the meeting from May 31st. Are there any errors or omissions?
None that I can see, Mayor.
No, we're all good. Okay, the table will adopt the minutes as presented. Business arising from the minutes. Okay, if there's no business arising, we will move on to the Mayor's update. A few items here for public's knowledge this afternoon. The first one, and here we go again. The topic of poor cell phone and internet service here in Holyrood. Over the past month, I don't know how many residents have expressed their frustration over such poor service. And I've also been experiencing the same problems in my home as well. I've had patience with this ongoing issue for quite some time, thinking some improvements would be made by now, but no go. And believe me, I'm as equally as frustrated as well. But my patience is running very thin. Just to give you some examples, I was speaking with a resident a few weeks ago about a council issue, and I was cut off 3 times. And as the deputy mayor can attest, we got cut off many times while trying to have a discussion. And here I am out on my patio, looking right at her house across the harbour. And we lose reception. So it's nothing short of ridiculous. We're paying for a service that's supposed to be dependable, but now it's basically hit or miss. Not acceptable and not good enough. I don't mean to sound so dramatic, but there's something radically wrong with this picture. What's more frustrating is that the problem is not insurmountable. It's a matter of the service provider investing in the infrastructure to improve the service. So with that said, I'm asking Council to request a face-to-face meeting with the appropriate company officials to get a first-hand explanation of what's happening here and what can we do to fix it. Now, if we don't make any progress at that level, I will propose we step it up a notch to a higher authority, the CRTC, which is the regulatory authority in Canada, whose mandate is to ensure telecommunications and broadcasting systems serve the best interest of Canadians. And I assure everyone, I will not let this go until we get the results we rightfully deserve. And I'm sure this council will remain steadfast with me. During the election, I assure you, this was the most predominant issue as I heard it throughout the entire town. So that's my rant for this evening. Now, on a more positive note, the 2-hour tidy campaign held a couple of weeks ago was another success, and the garbage collected went a long way in cleaning up our town. A big thank you was extended to all residents, sponsors, our Public Works Department, and Councillors Sadie King and Councillor Curtis Buckle for making this project possible. Actually, I will leave it with Councillor Buckle as a member of the Recreation and Community Events Committee to elaborate on all the details and acknowledgement during this report. And I will say that Councillor Buckle was unable to join us here in person, but he is on the line and will speak later. And as well, Councillor Sadie King and Councillor Laura Crowley could not attend this evening due to prior commitments. The third one here is, as we're all aware, June is Pride Month, when the world's LGBTQ communities come together and celebrate the freedom to be themselves. Pride gatherings are rooted in the difficult history of minority groups who have struggled for decades to overcome prejudice and be accepted for who they are. The very first Pride March was primarily a protest over the lack of legal protection from discrimination and the all too common threat of homophobic violence. As a society, we have made improvements in accepting diversity, but we must strive to do better. During Pride Month, the Town of Holyrood raised the Pride flag at the fire department in the town centre to demonstrate to the town, the region and the world that our community stands in solidarity in the fight against all forms of discrimination, harassment and violence. We embrace all that make each of us unique, including sexual orientation, gender identity and gender expression. Pride is both a jubilant community celebration of visibility and personal celebration of self-worth and dignity. This Pride Month, we recognize the valuable contributions of all LGBTQ individuals, and we reaffirm our commitment to standing in solidarity with them in their ongoing struggle against discrimination and injustice. We pledge our support to ensuring that all individuals, regardless of their uniqueness, will be treated with respect and value without prejudice. And the last item I have here, from time to time, I'd like to publicly recognize residents who have had a positive impact on the community or on people's lives. On behalf of Council, I'm delighted to congratulate Ms. Holly Healy, a teacher at Holy Cross Elementary, who will receive the 2022 Minister of Education Award at a ceremony this fall. In a press release issued by the Executive Council on Education, it states, and I quote, "This award for compassion in teaching recognizes inspirational and compassionate teachers at the primary, elementary, or secondary level who have demonstrated an exceptional commitment to supporting the social, emotional, and mental health of our other students, colleagues, or school as a whole," unquote. And we also recognize and thank all teachers, student assistants, and support staff for their commitment and dedication to enriching student experiences. So I think a little round of applause is in order to Ms. Healy and all of our teaching staff. Great job. Okay, so that is the Mayor's update, and are there any questions on that? Okay, if not, we will move on. Correspondence. I don't think there's any correspondence. Okay, so planning and development. We have the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Windsor. Deputy Mayor Woodford.
Good evening, everybody. Just our update first for planning and development. We had our meeting on June the 22nd. It was a virtual meeting. The committee discussed several applications and pieces of correspondence that were received. Recommendations were made either to move forward on the application in a motion tonight, or go back to the applicant requiring some more information, or taking another step like advertising for discretionary use. And I wanted to touch a little bit on that tonight because we have had some pieces of correspondence that came in to our committee regarding the process and, you know, getting information out to the public. So when an application comes in and it needs to be advertised for discretionary use, that goes out for a week in the Shoreline, on our Facebook page, and on the Town of Holyrood's website. So you have, the public has a week to respond before that application gets taken back to planning and development in order for it to move forward to council. So that's one method of getting that information out there, and one way that an application is actioned at the committee level. Some applications, for example, that we receive, it's not in the zoning. So it's not in the correct zone, so it needs to be rezoned. So, which flows in, of course, to our town plan review, because that's what myself and my co-chair, Steve Windsor, is taking care of right now. Over the next, I would say, 6 or 8 months, we'll be involved in trying to do that. But part of that would be looking at the zoning, looking at the trends that are happening, and making sure that everyone that's, you know, looking at an area for development, that we're able to kind of identify that and be able to make the changes as necessary in the mapping piece of the town plan review. And the last piece would be, I guess, the letters that would go back out to any applicants. We tried to send out a detailed explanation as for why something has been denied or even moving forward. So sometimes, because we do get people that say we're not giving enough information, so that's something that we probably have to make sure in the future that we're giving enough detailed information so that people are aware of why we're turning down an application. But I thought it was important to get that out, because I know at our last couple of meetings we've had that kind of questions coming up from different people in the public. So before I get into the motion, Steve, do you want to add anything on to that?
Well, I agree, Deputy Mayor. I think that's really important for people to understand, and you know, I think we are doing a good job of providing. Staff is doing a good job providing those explanations, but there's, you know, always room for more improvement there, I think, right? And like we've said before, I think then people might not like the decision, but at least they will understand it a little bit better, and how we can navigate the current regulations as they are, and hopefully they will respect the decision, right? So that's something that, you know, absolutely we're trying to improve.
And that's the other piece too, I think, when we're discussing the town plan and revisiting it, like to try to make things as clear as possible, because sometimes in those regulations, it's hard for, you know, to understand exactly why the regulation is there and what encompasses the regulation. And I know that we're on the same page, and so is the committee, in trying to make that as clear as possible to the public. So when you're submitting an application, you understand what the regulation is and why your application was turned down. So that's it for our update. I don't think there's anything else. And with regards to the town plan, I mean, we've had a little glitches in our schedule, so we haven't been meeting as consistently as we were, but that's the nature of this time of year and different conferences and stuff but yes. Right. Yeah. So,
Well,
but,
I mean,
but we're working on it. We're working through it.
That is, it's a lengthy and an exhaustive process, because you got to go piece by piece. And
Yeah.
I know
Well, the next piece for us is the mapping piece, so that's a big piece.
Yeah. And I know going back
Yeah.
to 2010, when our committee was updating the town plan, I mean, we spent 2 years to put that plan together. I think it was over 2 years.
It's a tremendous
But,
piece of work.
You know,
Yeah.
but again, that's 10 years ago, that's 12 years ago, so, you know, it needs updating, modifications, everything else, because of things we've learned over the years
Yeah.
that needs to be
And pieces
enshrined
that we've
now in the
added on
document. So
because of
yes,
that, yeah.
fully understand, it's not something that you're going to do in a few weeks. So, but when it's done, I'm sure we'll have a great product.
Okay, so we do have some permits for motion tonight. I don't know if everyone has a copy of the permit listing, but it's quite extensive. Be it resolved to table and approved the attached permit listing. 22 permits were issued from May the 27th to June the 23rd. Permit number 05-0061-22 to 05-0083-22, and includes permits for general repairs, occupancy, site prep, swimming pool, accessory building, and new residence. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion? Councillor Buckle?
No, now good.
Okay. If not, all those in favor? Those
Aye.
against? Motion is carried.
Next is rock construction. Whereas on September the 11th, 2020, Rock Construction Company Limited, Rock Construction, made an application to the Town of Holyrood under the town for the development of a quarry site in the general area of the east side of Island Pond Ridge Trail, 300 metres north of the Trans-Canada Highway, which we're referring to as the application. And whereas on November 17th, 2020, at a regular meeting of council, a motion to approve the application was unanimously defeated. The motion was noted in the minutes by number 20-13-111. And whereas Rock Construction appealed the denial of the application to the Eastern Regional Appeal Board. And whereas the town has investigated the processing of the application and agrees that it was not completed in accordance with the town's development regulations. So be it resolved that the prior vote on the motion be set aside, vacated, and have no force and effect. And number 2, the application shall be publicly advertised in accordance with the development regulations. Prior to consideration by council of the application shall be referred to Planning and Development Committee for recommendations to council. So moved.
Okay, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion?
If I may, Mayor, just to back up the Deputy Mayor here on the motion, you know, this simply boils down to the fact that we didn't follow the process in our own regulations. It got missed, the advertisement piece, right? That's basically what happened. And, you know, we can't turn back the clock, but we can learn from it. And something we've talked about at the committee as a continuous improvement on the lesson learned is that when we have an application that needs to be advertised, we'll immediately do that. So you can get that piece moving
Out of the way.
while we continue working the file and engaging the applicant, right? So just wanted to make that comment, explain what happened and what we're doing to avoid this situation in the future.
And what the mandate of the appeal board is to ensure that we were compliant with our development regulations process. It's not their mandate to determine whether they feel that this is appropriate application or not, but to ensure that due process was followed. There was a technicality there, and on that basis, normal procedure is that they send it back to the town and ask you to start the process again and to ensure that we were compliant with the development regulations. So, as you said, Councillor Windsor, on that basis, the advertisement, they decided, okay, the company really wasn't given the full opportunity to go, you know, so they ruled in their favor, and now it's back on our lap.
Yeah, it was
So,
section 22 and 32 of our development regulations that we didn't meet.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments on that? Councillor Bucko?
No.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried.
The next motion is for 4 Sunset Drive. It's a residential application. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's development regulations. So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion? Straightforward application,
It is.
all in accordance
Yeah.
with our regulations. Okay, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried.
The next is for 15 Oceanic Drive. It's a residential application. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's development regulations. Now, before we move on with that, this is a renewal of,
Yes.
of a permit that was granted a couple of years
2
ago.
years ago.
Yeah, and we're just renewing it. So nothing has changed with the application.
Good point. Okay, all those in, that has been moved, right?
It has been moved, but it hasn't been seconded.
Okay, it's moved and seconded by Councillor Windsor. Okay, further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried.
And finally, the Beach Dogs roadside vending. This is a renewal as well. Be it resolved, renew a roadside vending permit for 1 year for beach dogs vending located at the beach boardwalk. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion? I just want to say one thing. When we received this application a few years ago, I was a little bit skeptical on the basis of safety. So I've been watching how they set up everything else, and they're doing a great job. They're mindful, I think, of the traffic going in and out there, the people and everything else. So where they situate themselves, I haven't seen any issues, so I have no issue with renewing this permit. But I will say, on another note,
One comment only.
and I'm digressing here, but I think that at some point in the very near future, we really have to have a serious discussion, because this was brought up back last year, about the volume of parking at the boardwalk.
That's true.
The cars trying to get out of there that are head-on and trying to back out, with the vehicles coming down over Fitch's Hill, the children that are, maneuvering around. And there's so many things that you had to be mindful of when you're trying to back out, with traffic coming both ways, people around you and everything else. And we have discussed the possibility of, trying to have an alternate parking location, whether it's on the other side of the boardwalk down around the marina side, so you can start off your walk the boardwalk, and then you can eventually end up right on the center of the beach. These are just
public safety
options,
issue for sure,
and
isn't
then
it,
we were
Bruce?
looking at doing some beautification with
Yeah.
the parking lot, and have that specifically, say, for wheelchair accessibility and all of that kind of stuff. But again, all I'm saying here, and I apologize for digressing, but the volume of traffic down in that boardwalk is just increasing up and up. And we have to address it at some point and come up with a plan that's good for everybody. Okay, if there's no further discussion on that, are you, any comments, Councillor Buckle?
No, I agree with you totally there, Mr. Mayor and Council, that, the volume of traffic in that area, and, just the volume of traffic going through Route 60, through our town and down Route 90 and Holyrood access. Just the amount of traffic that goes through our town now in the run of the day is unbelievable. The traffic volume of the town of Holyrood has definitely significantly increased over the past few years. Thank you.
It's a good, I wouldn't categorize it as a complaint, but it's a good thing when you see a lot of people,
A lot of activity.
in your community this time of the year, and Holyrood seems to be the hub where people like to go, because they like to go over to different restaurants and do the boardwalk, and there's so much stuff to do, to hike in George Cove Mountain. It's a real attraction for visitors and tourists, and even our local residents. So, that's having a lot of traffic in your community is good, but at the same time, it do pose some challenges as well.
It has to be managed.
And it has to be managed, and we're mindful and cognizant of that, and we will address those things as time goes on. Councillor King, we discussed at the public safety meeting about the roundabout, and finding ways and means of providing some more additional information to residents who may not have a clear understanding about the roundabout. And I won't steal your thunder, but I'm sure that Councillor King will want to speak to that at some point. And now as well, I learned the other day from the MHA's office, the government has decided that they're going to move forward on resurfacing Mayor's Bridge, which means now what's going to happen, you're going to have traffic that's going to be traveling at a higher speed going over Mayor's Bridge as they come up to the roundabout. Whereas now, where the road is all tore up, it sort of slows people down. So there's pros and cons to it. Anyway, I apologize for digressing.
I don't know, do we vote on that last motion?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
All
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried.
And I believe that's it for planning and development. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Windsor. And now we'll move on to recreation and community events. And before Councillor Buckle, I turn it over to Councillor Buckle, I will say that he is committed right now time-wise, so after he does his report, he's going to have to sign off. Okay? So we still have a quorum here of 4. Okay? All right, Councillor Buckle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and yes, I got a work commitment, but I'll do the recreation update and after that before I leave. The Recreation Committee met on Tuesday, June 7th, and in attendance with myself, Councillor King, Director Steve Martin, Mayor Goulby, and CAO Mr. Corbett. And just some updates that I'd like to bring forward here tonight for our residents and my colleagues. First on the list is the summer students. There was 46 interviews were completed as part of the summer student process. 22 of those students were hired for various positions within the town at the Holy Cross Park, Camp Ahoy, Heritage Museum, and the Marina. And I'll just give a list of the positions and who's filling those positions. First of all, Jenna Hako is going to be the camp manager. Aaliyah Lee, Facilities and Program Manager. Elliot Devro, Assistant Camp Manager. Andrew Wooford, Camp Counselor. Julia Wall, Camp Counselor. Madison Murray, Camp Counselor. Jaden Whalen, Camp Counselor. Noah Healy, Camp Counselor. Connor Lewis, Camp Counselor. Austin Turnbull, Park Staff. Joshua Mead, Park Staff. Brady Hipditch, Park Staff. Amber Edison, Park Staff. Zachary Devro, Park Staff. Jillian Doyle, Lifeguard. Kelly Mercer, Lifeguard. Andrew Wolford, Lifeguard. Natalie Hipditch, Lifeguard. And Keegan Crowley is going to be the CBC United Soccer Coordinator. Joshua Linehan is going to be working at the museum, and Lucas Coffin is going to be working at the marina. So that's a list of our summer students. It's nice to see that we can hire so many summer students for different programs throughout our town for the summer. And we also like to say thank you to the Business Development Marketing Committee and for Marjorie for being able to get some of these grants to offset some of the costs for these positions. Next thing up is the 2-hour toddy, and as the mayor talked about in his mayor's report, it was greatly attended. We had over 100 participants that took advantage of this and came out and helped clean up our town. There was over 120 bags of garbage picked up. So, we like our committee, and on behalf of the council, we'd like to say a big thank you to our residents that came out and supported this and helped clean up our town. There is lots of garbage always blowing around, and it's nice to be able to try to get a head start on it and pick it up and clean up our town. And also, with that being said, there was 2 prizes of $300 for your name was entered, and the 2 winners were Shakira Travis and Rosaline Healy, and both of these people won the $300 cash prize. So I'd like to say congratulations and thank you to those individuals. And with that being said, I'll move on to the Squid Fest. As the Squid Fest brochure went out in the mail last week, there's a great list of events there for everyone. And, we're very happy to be able to get back to our regular Squid Fest this year since the COVID. And there's lots of activity there. And this year being a come home year in the province, we're really hoping to see a lot of people in our town during Squid Fest and take advantage of, there's lots of activities there. Get out and enjoy them and spend some time with family and friends. And also it's on the town website too. And also this coming Friday is Memorial Day, and there will be a wreath laying ceremony conducted by the Royal Canadian Legion at the Star of the Sea at 10:45. So we'd like to let everyone know that, and we do have that post to our social media also. And after the parade, the Legion are inviting people back over there. They're selling moose burgers for $5. So that's after the wreath laying. And also, we will be, Holyrood celebrates Canada Day. We have that posted on our social media. There will be events held at the festival grounds from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. There was free admission. There will be food vendors on site, the Beach Dive Catering and Snowy, that's the snow cones, they will be there. We also have frontline action bouncers, carnival games, face painting, and we will do our traditional cake cutting at the festival grounds. And we also have live music, so we're looking forward to having this celebration this year, and it will be at the festival grounds. So we really like to see as many people out and enjoy that event as possible. Also, as I talked about in the past, the Rib Fest is coming along, and we had some advertising about that. We're still working with the Children's Wish. There'll be more advertising coming out over the next little while on it. It's been posted to our social media page, and that's another one that's going to be outside of the Squid Fest, so we're hoping to get a good hit on that, and people get out and enjoy the Rib Fest. That will be the first time that it was held here in Holyrood, and we're really looking forward to that. And like I said, it's for a worthwhile cause, the Children's Wish too. Next update is the Camp Ahoy. 5 of the 8 weeks are sold out. There's a few spots left on a few weeks there, but you know what I mean, the Camp Ahoy is sold out, and you know what I mean, be able to put out that program this summer to help children be able to take part in the camp is another great event that the Recreation have put together, and it's nice to see it back this year. Also, my last point is the CBC United Soccer Program. There's 182 kids registered,
Wow.
and we're very happy to see that. You know what I mean? It's a great program. Over the last few years, we've always had to, I mean, our soccer field wasn't the ideal spot. It was a very wet area, and a lot of times we were moving it down to the festival grounds. But since last summer, we were lucky enough to get some government funding along with a little bit of money from our town, and to be able to do a new soccer field up on Kenny's Lane next to the playground. So with the 182 kids, we're really looking forward to being able to launch that program at our new recreation soccer field on the Samuel Line. And that's it for me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And I would just say that recreation is an extremely busy department in summertime, as Councillor Buckle just gave an update on everything that's going to be happening. So I just want to say kudos and a thank you to our Recreation Director, Steve Martin, and members of the Recreation and Community Events Committee, Councillor Sadie King and Councillor Buckle. Doing a great job. Obviously, there's a lot happening, and when I read the brochure of the Squid Fest, the brochure is blocked with activities, and there's something there for everyone of all ages, and fingers and toes crossed that we're going to have the weather on our side. And of course, we all know that the tickets for the beach party, they are probably up to 80% sold now, or probably more. But I know as of weeks ago, they were selling, they were going hot. So like I reminded you at the last meeting or meeting before, believe me, your cell phones are going to have to come off, because the day of, you're going to get calls from people saying, come on, you're on council, you can get me a ticket, come on, I only wants one. So, believe me, I went through it. But that's a good complaint. So, anyway, that's all I have to say. Any other comments?
A quick shout out to echo your sentiments. Excellent work by the committee and Director Martin. I had visitors staying with me when the brochure was published from a different community on the island, and it generated a lot of discussion in my household about, wow, like, this is remarkable. The programming, the inclusion, there's something there for absolutely everyone, every demographic. Absolutely exceptional. Committee, hats off, well done.
Yeah, and they put a lot of time and a lot of effort into their meetings too, so it's good stuff. Okay, if there's nothing else, we are going to let Councillor Buckle sign off. Are you signing off now, Councillor Buckle, or?
Yeah, no, I got to go on there for work commitment, but thank you very much, everyone, and have a great evening. Enjoy yourself.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Get to work. So I'll hang up on you. See you,
Okay, now we're going to move on to infrastructure and public works. So that would be Councillor Windsor.
Okay.
She's all yours.
I'm missing my colleague, Councillor Sadie King, tonight.
She don't miss very many.
Over on that side, all by yourself.
I'm over here all by myself for all the hundreds of listeners at home watching. I'm over here by myself, right? Yes, so the committee met on June 9th. All committee members were in attendance. Councillor Sadie King, Mayor, CAO Corbett, and Director Robert Stacey. A number of files discussed, but I think I'm going to skip past a lot of those particular files because what's most important to provide an update here tonight is the water and sewer.
Yes.
Okay? And anyone who's paying attention to that on our social media has noticed a few things, a few announcements. So I just wanted to speak to that a little bit and provide some additional detail or some background and context so everyone really understands it, right? So let's start with the water, right? We are on a system of wells in Holyrood, right? Everyone's on a well, and growing up on a well, we were always mindful of our water usage, not to waste water. I lived away in the mainland, water was metered. I lived in the UK, water was metered, right? It's a first world problem, we take water for granted, right? So the system that we have here, we have a water tank that replenishes at night when usage is down. Total height would be 30 feet at maximum capacity. It recently went down to as low as 13 or 14 feet. The minimum level that we would consider as problematic for residents will be when it gets to 12 feet, okay? And there's an unknown amount of, just like in your hot water boiler, there's a certain amount of sediment at the bottom of that too, right? So we get to 12 feet, people would experience pressure loss. And we're really in that danger zone then. So what happened, so the water treatment facility and part of that system of pumps, there's a sensor that malfunctioned basically, right? And wasn't allowing the system to replenish properly as it should. That's now in bypass. But that combined with the fact that we do have a unseasonably dry spring, right? It hasn't been replenishing at night as fast as we would normally like. Like I've checked my own, I have a private well at my residence and at my cabin. I've checked that. And the water table, in my estimation, is at August levels. And that can be verified. If you were to go on a hike now, and the mayor and I have discussed it, certain bodies of water around town, you can see that water levels are down several feet compared to what they normally would be this time of year.
Water pond is down, I'd say 2 feet.
Exactly, right? So we gotta be cognizant of that. We don't want to have water bans, right? But we gotta think about drier times ahead in July and August. So just want to encourage residents, I guess, to be a little bit mindful of their water usage so we don't get to that point. Staff's doing a great job of monitoring the situation and communicating via social media what's going on. So that's great, and it also highlights that this council and the previous council and staff have been bringing forward forward-thinking, shovel-ready projects, tie into the North Arm River, increase and have a larger size new water tank, planning for future-proofing this community, right? So something to be aware of, and just want to give a couple little statistics, right, on water use, right? So a regular garden hose without an accessory on the end, it's just free flowing, that would put out about 17 gallons a minute, right? The combined output of wells number 5 and 6 in our town system put out 100 gallons of water per minute. So basically, 5 or 6 garden hoses going full tilt is the same as 2 of our wells output. A little scary, right? You think about it, how rapidly we can deplete our supply, right? So that's a little update. It's very much on the radar of the committee and the town staff, and just wanted to explain a little bit of that to the residents who, saw the social media post. Don't want to alarm anyone or anything like that. It's being managed properly, but be a little mindful of what you're using, right? That's the water. On the other end is the sewer system, and we had a malfunction of a lift station. Staff promptly put out an excellent bulletin, I thought, to explain how the system works. And also explain what had happened. There was a mop head had come into the system and completely destroyed a pump, so it has to be replaced. What do you do? It would be more expensive to repair an old pump versus replace. So in an emergency situation where we're replacing the pump, right? And I thought the bulletin was also excellent because it educated everyone about certain things. Everyone knows you're not going to put a mop head down a drain, right? But lots of different things that you might not think about shouldn't go down there either, right? So again, shout out to the staff and good information for the residents. Yeah, I think that's sufficient for the general committee update. Mayor?
If I could, Councillor Windsor, I mean, over the years, like we know of different materials after going into our system and getting cut in the mechanic side of it, towels, clothing. So, you know, while, you know, some of this, sometimes it's accidental, it could be little children not realizing it, it could be a multitude of reasons, but, you know, we got to understand that, you know, if you're on a town system, I'm on a private well, but if you're on a you know, on a service lot, you know, once you flush that toilet, you can't have the, you know, you can't think, oh well, it's I'm done with it, because you're not, because whatever is going down that toilet can end up getting caught in your sewer line, which you may end up being responsible for. And we've had cases in the past where lines got clogged up, whether it's grease and fat, or whether it's just a whole gamut of things that can cause problems with your sewer line. And if you have to dig up your driveway or your lawn or both to try to fix a problem, you know, while you may think that when you flush that toilet, you know, that the problem is no longer mine, well, it could end up being yours after all. But like the other day when a mop head got in and did a lot of damage, right, and to one of the chambers, I mean, this cost the town a lot of money to replace and fix. So everybody pays the price. So, you know, in that brochure, and I did speak to several residents, because I'm a strong advocate that if something of that importance, put a flyer out in the mail, because everybody goes to the post office. And it was well laid out, well articulated, well explained about what happened and where we're to in the process and what should or should not be flushed down your toilet. So it was a great educational piece, and I think, you know, a lot of people will learn and benefit from it, because, you know, like small children, you know, these wipes, even though they're called disposable, but that don't mean it goes down the toilet. And you get them, you know, with a bit of other sentiment or what built up and so that could be enough to be able to clog up that pipe to the point that you now got a problem. All right. So I must say it was a job well done. And one last note, that is the main beach lift station. That's the last point before it goes to the sewage treatment plant. So we all know that when the vac company came in, because they had to pump it out, you know, well, the minute that they uncovered all of this, you know what's going to happen. You're going to have a lot of nauseous smell emanating in the whole area. And some people are of the impression that this is coming from the sewage treatment plant. And it's no different than if I took the top off my septic tank to clean it out. Well, obviously, you're going to get, you know, a stench going through the whole area. And that caused confusion sometimes, because people says, what's going on with the sewage treatment plant? But it's not. In this case, it was the main beach lift station.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, that was well explained. So, anyway, I just wanted to get those points across.
No, I think
Sorry to interrupt.
No, Mayor, I think that was great. Appreciate the commentary, and you know, Director Stacey's doing an exceptional job. Agree. Like the information's powerful, right? And like, you know, you don't have water and sewer, everything else is fluff, right? You have water, sewer, and safety, right? Basic services for the residents. Everything else we can deal with.
Yeah.
Right? But you got to have those basics. So I do have a number of motions.
Mm-hmm.
Rather lengthy, but most of it you've already heard about at previous discussions and meetings, and now it's just coming to fruition. So good segue there, Mayor, when you mentioned the treatment plant. You know, the first motion is in regards to that. We had previously discussed this here and went out to a re-tender with some scope removed, which resulted in a net savings from the original price on the scope of work, right? So I'll read the motion on that now. Oxidation ditch aeration system replacement. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood award a contract to complete the oxidation ditch aeration system replacement project number 17-MYCW-21-00144 to Rodco Mechanical 2014 Limited for a total price of $141,218.85. There were 3 bids submitted in response to the tender call by Innovative Engineering, and Rodco was the lowest bidder with the necessary requirements as indicated in the tender. This was the second tender call for the project, as the scope of work was refined from the previous tender documents. The change included removal of a large portion of miscellaneous steel and use of an alternate aerator option. The deliverables in the scope of work remained the same: to remove the existing rotor and replace with 2 new sludge activation aerators. The only difference is essentially the equipment we specified. The total cost of the project, including engineering and a previously acquired pump, is $185,120.32, leaving a shortfall of $8,120.10. This shortfall will be absorbed through the town's budgetary process. The initial tendering process had a shortfall of $34,968.65, so the town is seeing significant savings with this retender. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion?
Oh, it's great, we're saving more money.
Yeah.
I think the motion actually explained it all,
Yes,
and,
it
and I think the long and short of it is that we are making the necessary investments on this type of infrastructure to, to do our upgrades and repairs and everything else, because we got to understand much of our infrastructure in the community it's getting fairly old, and things break down, and we're trying to keep ahead of it and do the necessary repairs. Thankfully, we're able to secure the funding, for these big ticket items, because if we had to do these things on our own,
Absolutely, Mayor. We cannot do it on our own, and
It would be-
shout out to staff, the CAO, and Director of Business Development for being so cognizant in their surveillance of the funding opportunities to help us. We would not be able to do it on our own, and I think the residents would be happy to see us doing this, investing in our infrastructure that's aging and needs maintenance and repair and upgrading for the future.
yeah, for sure. Okay, all right, if there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against, motion is carried.
Okay, thank you. The next one, the lift station, which we've talked about a little bit already, under gas tax. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood submit a gas tax application to purchase a submersible pump to be used at the beach lift station. This pump will replace the pump which recently had to be removed due to damage. Infrastructure and Public Works Department requested quotes from 3 suppliers: Rodco Mechanical, Electric, Motor and Pump, and Xylem. Xylem was the only bidder at a cost of $19,348.40 for the pump, including installation. This pump is an important piece of infrastructure which is required to ensure we can provide reliable sewer services to residents using the sewer system within the town. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? And as I said earlier, when you got to start replacing these, the mechanics of these things and the stuff inside, it's costly.
Well, this is it, right? These things are not cheap. This is not a half horsepower pump from Canadian Tire for $300 to use at your RV trailer. These are expensive pieces of machinery, and we need to treat them with respect, and that's why I thought the information bulletin was so helpful. People be mindful of what they're doing, and I think this is a big bill for the town that was unplanned.
That's right. And
So
luckily, it's under gas tax.
Luckily, it's under gas tax.
There's more than one pump though, right? This,
Yeah, there are. There is some redundancy built into the system, the way it's designed. So it's not a single point of failure. They do have multiple pumps the way it operates.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against, motion is carried.
I'm not getting much argument here tonight. I kind of likes a little bit of argument,
Well, you're talking about water and sewer, so.
It's difficult, right? The next
You're just,
one.
you can't argue with you.
So,
It just
You
flows so
might
nice.
do, right? You might in the next one. We'll see. The next one is about snow clearing equipment. We've discussed this at previous council meetings and around, just providing our team, our staff, with the right tools for the job. And we have an aging fleet of equipment. Some of them have been condemned for safety reasons, and we need to be a little bit more proactive in our integrity management system, and Director Stacey is doing that, so we can more closely monitor our maintenance costs and replace things at the optimal time. This piece of equipment was tendered. You may recall I opened the tender, and it was very exciting that night, boring life. And so we're bringing forward a motion here now to approve the purchase. I'll read the motion. Dump truck with snow clearing equipment. Be resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve the purchase of a 2024 International HV 607 dump truck, complete with La Rochelle snow clearing equipment, for $282,405, HST included. Reliable, safe equipment is very important and necessary in order to provide appropriate services for our residents. This 2024 International HV 607 dump truck, equipped with La Rochelle snow clearing equipment, solidifies Council's commitment to improve services by making new and more modern, reliable equipment available for the public works staff to operate. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion? Well, I will just say that I'm pleased very pleased with the snow clearing services that we are providing our residents. And I've said this in the past, you know, after a snowstorm, when other jurisdictions, larger jurisdictions, you know, usually takes a full day or up to 2 days before everything is cleared. We usually got everything opened up and roads widened and everything by 12 noon the next day. And I remember Snowmageddon. I remember going out driving around, and I could not believe all the parking lots were clear. If the gas stations, like right down, almost down to the pavement. And I went around, took pictures. I showed guys at work. They were snowed in out there for a week before a plow hit their cul-de-sac, and we had the town back in full running order by 12 or 1 o'clock the next day.
Yeah.
So it's a big reflection on the great job of our public works crew and how it's coordinated and managed and done on a priority basis. But from our perspective, our responsibility as a council is to provide our crews with the best infrastructure that we can possibly provide in order for them to do a good, quality, and safe job. And we've recognized that, as you said, you know, some equipment are aging. Well, once the director says, you know, she's in the shop and it's going to need lots of parts and it's going to cost money, but it's going to be good money after bad, we know the time has come when we got to look at replacing that equipment. And that's in our long-term plan, is to keep our equipment as updated as possible. Because the more updated they are, the less breakdowns. Because you take a plow that got to go in the garage with major mechanical problems after a storm, it's really going to have an impact on overall snow services in some part of the town, and it's going to take a lot longer. So I think that we're doing a good job investing in this kind of infrastructure, and you know, I'm proud to say that you know, people actually compliment the town on the snow clearing service, and we know, you know, in other jurisdictions they're on open line, they're not too happy when it takes 2 and 3 days before a plow comes along. But most residents says, you know, we've got one of the best snow clearing services of any community.
100%.
And I'm proud of that on behalf of the previous councils, this council, and our public works crew.
100%. I think the staff
snow
here
clearing
do
is
an
big in the
exceptional
winter.
job, right? And we need to, you know, it is our responsibility to give them the right tool for the job, like anything else.
Yeah.
And you're right, Mayor. I've been in here for 10 years, and the snow clearing is exceptional. I got to tell you a little story. I mean, how many times I'd be in the office in St. John's, you know, after a big dump of snow, done, roads are done, I'm in the office, waiting for the crowd to show up, watching the clock. Boss, what took you so long to get here? I got half a day's work done. Where are you coming from? Well, I'm coming from Cowan Heights. Well, I come all the way in from Holyrood, downtown St. John's. Right, that's how good they are in here, and I gotta say, hats off to them. Let's give them a new truck.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried.
Mayor, on the agenda that I have before me, that concludes my activity, but there is one item to be added, and that's the opening of 2 bids that were received for the multi-court recreation complex area on the Salmoneer line.
Okay,
Okay, so I just need to open those and just read the name of the bidder and the total price, and then I'll pass it on to the next department. So this is Eric Taylor Limited. Okay, just fish that out. Just give me a moment now and try to find the where he has the figure.
so while you're going through that, I will just say the next step in this process is that it will, like you say, it'll go through staff and the committee. It'll be reviewed to ensure that all the terms and conditions and the specs are met, and then of course it's the price to be considered as well. So
That's right. So it'll be handed back to staff to conduct the evaluation of all the criteria to ensure it is in alignment. So Eric Taylor Limited bid $84,963. That includes HST for the project, the multi-court recreation area 2022. We also have a bid from Buckles Contracting for $67,562.50, also tax included. Okay.
okay, and I will
Now I will
say.
hand these documents to the clerk. Thank you very much.
And I will say, as part of the process, because one of our councillors would be in a conflict with Buckles Construction, so he will have no part of the process. He will not see anything. He will not have anything to say, and he will certainly not vote on it. So if we happen to discuss this further in a committee of the whole meeting or whatever, then he will remove himself from the room as a conflict of interest. That's just a matter of transparency to let the public know. Okay, thank you very much for that, sir. So you're all done?
For now, I think so. Thank you.
All right. And up next, Business Development and Marketing. I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Woodford.
I'll try to keep it quick. The Business Development and Marketing Committee met virtually on June 23rd. All members were in attendance. There were 9 items on the agenda for review. Of those items, we're just going to give an update tonight. Reports were given by our CAO and our director on the Energy NL conference that was held in St. John's and the H2O conference in Halifax that have to deal with OHI. A lot of good contacts were made at those conferences, and opportunities for collaboration with other groups have already come in for meetings and discussion. Right now, we're kind of getting a report ready to present to Council of the Whole on the entirety of those conferences that our CAO attended both, and Marjorie was at the booth for the one in St. John's, the Energy NL. And because of our partnership with Energy NL, our sponsorship with them, we got the booth. We got a lot of exposure, like the Town of Holyrood, for all of the different events, got acknowledged, let's put it that way. So it was a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people came by the booth to see what was going on in the Town of Holyrood with regards to the ocean sector. There were 3 other items discussed because we've been talking about the wayfinding project. We've been talking about Trails Master Plan, and we've been talking about the boardwalk extension. So with regards to those 3, the wayfinding project, we're trying to come up with a recommendation to Council of the Whole for discussion on how we move forward with that. That funding agreement would be a collaborative one with all of CBC. So it's not just us. The funding will go in as a pool, and of course there would be a portion that we would have to cover for the town. So whatever we plan to do in moving forward for the wayfinding project would have to be built into the 2023 budget. So there's a recommendation that would be coming forward for that. With regards to the Trails Master Plan, same thing. There was 4 different trails identified through the consultation process that we had. that were high priority, that everyone had given a high priority to those 4 items. We're kind of breaking those down. We do have an item, one trail that we'd like to see, and that will come back, as I said, to committee of the whole. But, it all comes down to dollars, and regardless of where that funding is coming from, because I'm sure Marjorie can find that funding somewhere, it's still a portion that has to be paid by the town. So it will be done in collaboration with the 2023 budget as well. And the same thing with the beach boardwalk extension. I mean, we're seeing the beach boardwalk down there right now. It's beautiful. Would love to have it all done just like that. That's really difficult when we need the funding. We can't do it on our own. It's like our water and sewer. So the phase 2 of that project, we're hoping to be able to move forward with that next year, based on the recommendations from the funding group. I think it's a COA that we get some of that funding from. The recommendation that we'll make at the committee level will be brought back to council of the whole for discussion. Hopefully we'll have those 3 items within the next committee of the whole meeting, and then at the next council meeting as well. As for the budget, the corporate services wanted us to review our 2022 budget, and we did that. And I should say Marjorie did that. And we are on target for our fiscal year. We're 50% on target. Everything is where it should be. So we're happy with that. And I think that's it for business development and marketing. Anything you want to add?
No, I just want to say, with regard to the trail master plan, and we're really flushing this out because there's a lot of things to consider. And one of the things, like from my perspective, that we need to consider with this trail master plan is the level of difficulty. And we want to ensure that whatever trail is developed, that it will be accessible to everybody. Like I said before, you have strollers in the community, people who like to take their time and just, have a chat on the boardwalk and whatnot. Then you have walkers, people who like to do the walk up to George Cole Mountain or Murray's Peak. And then you like to have the hikers, the people that likes to go for a day and in the rugged terrain. So, what we're trying to do here, if we're going to develop a big trail, we want to ensure that it's accessible to as many people as we can possibly accommodate. So we don't want the level of difficulty to be so hard that only 20% or 30% would consider using that trail because they're probably not physically able to do it, or just several reasons. So these are the little things that we're trying to incorporate in the thought process when we come forward to make a recommendation. So that's the point we're at now, is flushing all this out. And of course, cost is a big thing as well. So there's a lot of things involved, but we're working through it. So we should have a report for council soon. Yeah. Any questions?
No, I agree, because I think one of the things we probably should look at when you talk about the trail plan is something very similar to, I'm sure probably everybody here has been to Gross Mourne, where there's certain levels of physical fitness required for certain trails, right? There's certain trails that are almost as level as here, and then you have places like Gross Mourne Mountain, which is only for the faint of heart, right? So, I mean, if we look at it something similar to up there,
And we have.
it will accommodate everybody, because it's a list of the level of fitness that you require to make it up to the top, whereas, and the level of endurance or whatever and stuff like that. So if we had something very similar to that, I think is great, because a lot of people come out. There's very seldom that I'm outside, I don't hear people up on Murray's Peak screaming, right, for help. Right? And I can't help them. I can't get up there. So, but I mean, it is. And as people come from all over the Avalon, you'd be surprised the people that go up on top of Murray's Peak, and I'm sure on George Cole Mountain and all the other places, the boardwalk, and they come from everywhere to go up and just do it, right? So physical fitness is becoming a very important thing, and I think Holyrood should lead the way and be able to promote these kind of things, because not only do they come to the town to walk, they probably want to come stop to have something to eat, and it all adds up.
All ties together.
So it's all good.
Yeah, with the Trails Master Plan, it has identified all of the trails and it has given an activity level. So it'll say moderate, easy, level 2, level 3, or whatever. So at least, and I'm not sure if that's posted on our trails. But that's something that we need to
Yeah.
look at. Even a little
I don't
small
think it is.
sign to be
Yeah,
able to
no.
say that this, like Murray's Peak, is a moderate trail. This is the length of the trail, you know, because you'll see that in a lot of different trails all across the island. They kind of have it up front to be able to
point.
say, this is the length of the trail, this is the activity level of the trail. So that's probably something that we should incorporate along with that as well, to
And
be
I-
able to identify what the trail is and how, you know, because I wouldn't want to start it, you know, and get halfway up there, like you said, and start screaming for help.
'Cause I can't help it.
And that's something, I think that's a really good idea,
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, and it's something that we should pass on to recreation and community events, because a little bit of signage there to give you the heads up before you walk the trail, like George called Mountain, how many steps there are, the
Yeah,
degree of
what the length of
difficulty.
it is,
So
what the
people can decide,
difficulty.
okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm not really physically fit, that
enough to
I
do
shouldn't
that.
do this.
Yeah.
I probably, probably got some medical problems going on.
Yeah. And that's
Right.
That's right. Yeah,
So, good
Yeah.
point. Okay.
okay.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, and now we will move on to public safety. Councillor King, you're up.
Thank you, dear Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and of course, like Councillor Windsor said, the hundreds of people, although the mayor told them all to go outside and enjoy the fresh air, so there's probably nobody listening tonight. Anyway, on the 24th, we had our public safety meeting, and those in attendance was the mayor, Fire Chief Evan Woodford, the CAO, and myself. And we had quite a few points of discussion. The first one we discussed was the emergency response exercise that we had planned for the upcoming summer. After consideration of a lot of different factors, i.e. the ambulance service, workers, the volunteer fire department, or firefighters being on holidays, work, and other little factors, it was prudent that we decided that we would move the exercise to next spring and work our way to next spring in stages. And the stages being in the fall, the chief is going to touch base with all the different other first responder organizations, whether it be the Avondale, Harbor Maine, the ambulance services, the ground search and rescue, get their feel if they want to participate. And then in the fall, we will do a series of tabletop exercises to bring everybody up to another level. And then in the spring, then we will have a emergency response exercise here in the town of Holyrood. And then at that time, we will know the different organizations that will participate. And by then, we will have a scenario sorted out, and we should be able to move forward there. We want to set ourselves up for success as opposed to trying to set ourselves up for failure. So I think it's the right approach, and we were all in agreement that that's the way we should move forward. The other thing we discussed was the fire service fees in the outlying areas. We're going to start another campaign for those people that have yet to pay the fee, and we're going to explain to them it's not just for your structure, it's also to respond to medical emergencies, vehicle accidents. You know, so just because you say, well, the $50, no, it's more to it than just your building. And the logic is going to be, you just built yourself a $400,000 home out in the woods, but you don't want to pay $50 to protect it. So, in the words of Mr. Spock, it's not logical, right? It's just not. It also could affect. I called an insurance company today. I won't say who it is, but they did explain to me there are certain criteria in their assessments when they do for fire insurance. But if you live beyond 13 kilometers of a hydrant or a fire station, then your rates will go higher than a person living here in Holyrood, for example, that's close to a fire hydrant. But the lady said the best thing for people to do is, because not all insurance companies follow the same principles. But to be safe, these people that don't want to pay the $50, they should touch base with their insurance company and see, that if that's in their policy, because if it is and something happens, they might be out quite a bit of money, right? Because, and the other thing we're going to explain to them as well, that if you haven't, the fire department will respond. They will respond whether you paid your fee or not. But when they come back and find out, you know, Mr. Windsor, who lives out in the woods, he hasn't paid his fee. Well, for every fire truck that goes out there to respond, it's $350 an hour. So if you got 2 or 3 vehicles going out there, you very well may receive a bill in excess of $1,000 for somebody to come out to your place to respond to a fire. So we're going to try to explain all that to people that still haven't paid, and hopefully when you present the facts to them, and they call their insurance company, and the insurance company says, yes, you know, if you refuse fire coverage and something happens, we're not going to cover you. So we encourage people to check it out. We've discussed the ambulance coverage shortfall, so we will continue to engage both Eastern Health and the MHA to ensure that the Holyrood residents maintain a 24/7 coverage for emergencies and things of that nature. Enhanced surveillance equipment. We know that there has been vandalism around the town. There's an increased vandalism in the whole area. I mean, these 2 backhoes that were stolen and beat in people's stores, they came from government depots. There's already been incidents of people stealing fuel, gasoline, diesel. So we need to be proactive. We need to have some kind of a more enhanced security system on our town property. So in the event of vandalism, it may not stop it, but it may be also be able to find out who's responsible. So we're going to look at that. We're going to talk to the Director of Public Works and the Public Works staff to see where the needs are, get a cost, and once that's done, we will present it to the Corporate Services and the Council to be in the 2023 budget. Hurricane season, we've already seen, you know, certain things coming out towards, I know the Fire and Emergency Services sent something out. Hurricane season starts. It runs from, you know, the 1st of June till the 30th of November. They're looking at least 14 to 21 named storms in Atlantic Canada this year. So you can almost bet money that some of them are going to come to Holyrood.
You're going to get one, maybe
Right?
2.
We know that these storms are becoming more and more severe all the time. The rain is becoming more severe. The wind is becoming more severe. There's leaves on the trees, which causes another factor. So the fire department is going to put out something on their website to tell people what they should have in their residence. You know, they say you should be your own first responder for the first 48 to 72 hours, because that's probably it's going to take how long for somebody to come to help you. So you need your water, you need food, you need medication. There's a whole list of different things, and the fire department is going to put that on their website. And people can also go in and Google it themselves, you know, what you need for a survival kit, and it's all there, right? And it's better to do that. We all seen, you know, when there's a snowstorm, there's a mad rush to Canadian Tire to get a snowblower. Well, when you got 30 to 40 centimeters of snow, it's a little bit late to go looking for a snow, because 9 chances out of 10, they're all gone.
Yeah.
You might get a shovel, right, if you're lucky. Okay. We talked about the info session with regards to the RCMP, and Councillor Buckle is going to check on that one, because I was talking to a person not too very long ago, who lives down where I am, where I'm from, down towards Duff Strait, and they have relatives who live in Chapel's Cove. The lady will not come down to visit her relatives. She's in her early 80s because she's afraid of the roundabout, going through the roundabout. This is true, right? It's true. She will not come down to visit her daughter because she's afraid of the roundabout. Yeah. So I think we need to have an information session in a relaxed environment, especially targeting seniors, and an RCMP officer, and explain, you know, the safest way to get through the roundabout. And like the mayor had already said, Mars Bridge is going to be resurfaced, and that's only going to mean people are going to come to that roundabout a lot faster than what they are doing now. So I think that's something we really should look forward and put it out there. And I would be very surprised if we don't see a lot of people, especially seniors, be interested in it. So, and the last one I have, it's not on the agenda, but is Canada Day and private fireworks, right? You know, we all know we haven't had any rain, and even though we might have some over the next few days, but it doesn't take very long. There's so little moisture in the ground and in the woods. It doesn't take very much to start a fire. So you don't want to be, you know, there's no ban on fireworks here, but people need to understand, people need to take precautions. You know, people also need to know if you're going to set, because now there's no set time. People start firing fireworks off after the sun goes down, or sometimes before the sun even goes down, right till the sun comes up the next day. So, you know, people need to take their neighbors into consideration, especially people that have pets and stuff. There's nothing wrong with calling your next door neighbor, knowing that they have a dog or whatever, saying, listen, at 8 o'clock tonight, we're going to fire off the fireworks, put Fluffy back in the house and put a set of air defenders on it, right? You know, and people would appreciate that.
Exactly.
Right? As opposed to poor old Fluffy running down the road because somebody scared the you-know-what out of him and he took off.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
people need to use common sense. And that's all I have there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. A lot of very informative points there. Good stuff. Okay, now we're going to move on to communications.
Would be me, I guess.
You're the lone
This will be
ranger.
short and sweet. With an update on the Communications Committee, we did not have a meeting since our last public meeting because of conflict of schedules and everything else, but we are hoping to have one planned soon to continue on. The work is continuing to be done because staff have pieces to complete and council have pieces to complete. So the work is still being done. It's just we haven't gotten together yet to be able to collaborate on exactly the pieces that we're all putting together. But that, you know, we're hoping to have something in the next couple of weeks so that we can bring it to council at the next public meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. And the operational review, Councillor Windsor or Councillor King? Councillor Windsor.
I'll go ahead, and before I do though, I just wanted to jump in on something that Councillor King had brought up at the tail end of his update, which was excellent, by the way. It's reassuring knowing that you and the committee are looking out for all of us. On the fireworks, I actually have it bookmarked on my phone, that website. It's servicenl or gov.nl.ca. If you search on fire hazard map, you'll see the map of our province by region, and it's color coded by risk, low, moderate, high, and so on, and it's updated on a regular basis, right? So anyone who's out into the country, you know, doing anything at all, something to be mindful of. Just want to let you know there.
Well, I mean, we know that we never had very much of a winter, snow-wise, so the ground's pretty dry anyway at the start of spring.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when I walk over in the woods now, when you hear crunch, 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 you know that everything is extremely dry.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got a lot of blowdowns and everything else, which is all kindling for fire. So, you know, and that's a very good point that Councillor King raised about fireworks. Please, please exercise due caution. And if the weather continues to be bone dry and you know that you're surrounded by woods, you may want to think twice of putting them off them fireworks, because you could end up burning your own house down.
Be cognizant of where you're putting them off.
You
Yeah.
could end up doing
If you're
damage
on the front
to
of
your neighbor.
property that may be on the main road.
That's right.
You know,
Situational awareness.
situational, yes.
you know?
Exactly.
And I love fireworks. I'm not going at it this
Yeah,
year.
we all do, but exactly. If you feel that it's not safe to do it in your area, because it could cause a lot of problems, then it's probably better off to say leave them in the
Yeah.
box and we'll use them Christmas time.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on,
I
sir.
want to digress, but I just wanted to get that in
No,
there
it's good
to
points.
back up my colleague there. On the operational review, yes, the committee did meet once, I can't remember the exact date, but myself and Councillor King, Mayor Kubi and Councillor Buckle, and we discussed this again, and you know, really what we were discussing there was the funding opportunity that presents itself when linked to the strategic plan, because we do qualify for funding under capacity improvement and enhancement. And we did review some documents that were go-bys that were available to us from other municipalities. So we would like to move forward with it. I think that we've turned it around long enough now. I think that an operational and organization review is important. We're going to let them together, but in order of sequence or precedence, we would like the operation review to precede the strategic plan, right? So that's what we would like to do. And once again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. I've said it many times. There's no one on this committee that has any hidden agenda. It is with the spirit of improvement and learning and a validation, I think, of a lot of good things that are being done here. But we're always looking to sharpen our tools in our toolbox and just find better and smarter ways to work, right? So I just wanted to say that again, so there's no preconceived notions out there that we're on some kind of witch hunt, right? Because that's not the case. In any case, I'd like to read the motion to move it forward now so we can take the next steps. Request for proposals. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the release of Request for Proposals, RFP, to hire a consultant to prepare a strategic plan 2023-2027 for the town. This piece of work will include an organizational review, operational and organizational review, as well as a strategic plan, and is aimed at assisting the town with decision making to ensure we provide affordable, safe, and reliable services and programs to residents. So what this is, we're looking to have someone help us take the RFP to the next level and release it in a sort of third party can deal with that, right? And there's no bias or ambiguity.
And once the RFP is awarded, then it's out of all of our hands, councillors, staff. The only people who had an involvement in this process thus far was myself, Councillor Windsor, Councillor King, and Councillor Buckle. And, the purpose is to, keep it completely external.
Yeah, and if I may,
And unbiased
Mayor,
and
one other
neutral.
comment I'd like to make.
Yeah.
Not just external, but completely unbiased. I will be pushing for personally a consultant that does not know the Town of Holyrood.
Good point, yeah.
That's what I'll be advocating for. Like really a cold eyes, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
moved.
any other questions or comments on it?
I agree because, the majority of councillors here now are new, right? The four of us are new here. It will give us for the next 3 years, because we'll already have 1 year punched, 3 years of how to move forward, priorities, what we should be putting our efforts into, and it gives us a better feel of how things are done here. So I think when at the end of the day, it will be very beneficial. I'm sure it'll be beneficial to those people that have been here, but I think it'll be more beneficial to the four of us who are new. So I'm looking forward to, and like Councillor Windsor said, if we could get somebody who's got to have to check a map to see where Holyrood is, even better, because they're not coming in here with any conceived notions. They don't know anybody. They have no axe to grind. They don't everything. It's almost like a judge up top there. He delivers his judgment based on the evidence, and that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And as part of that process, like staff will be interviewed, councillors will be interviewed, there will be a public consultation process, so everybody will have a hand in this. So that's the purpose of it. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried. All right, thank you, Councillor Windsor. And now we'll move on to, right now, okay, there's a notice of motion here to rescind the $25,000 grant to HMPC in the 2023 budget. Councillor King, you gave the notice of motion. Do you want to just keep it on the table?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, because we are missing 3 councillors, and we're still looking for some more detailed information from staff. I don't think it would be prudent tonight to vote on something like that unless everybody was here. So I would like to see this motion move to the July 26th meeting.
Okay, so we'll just keep the notice of motion on the books
Yes,
for now.
please.
And there's no time limit, by the way, of when a notice of motion can stay according to Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah.
In the past, I remember we had a notice of motion on for years, for 2 years. And anyway, eventually, the person who moved or gave the notice of motion just took it off. So there's no time limit on it. Okay, thanks. Thank you for that. Now, corporate services and administration. Now, Councillor King, you got to stay on your taps now because you're going to pay the bills tonight.
Thank you again there, Mr. Mayor. Corporate Services, we had our meeting on June 16th, and our main focus at the meeting was like something very similar to what Deputy Mayor Woodford said, the budget. We wanted all the committees to go back, look at their budgets, see where they are now, and see how much is left over until the end of the fiscal year. And also, like we were talking about before, any other new items that they're looking at into the 2023 budget, like the ones we discussed, the surveillance equipment and other items, to be able to have this all flushed out, have a cost, and know where they stand, and also to be able to inform our financial department where they are right now. So that's all been put out there. So, and we're just waiting. Some have already responded, and we're still waiting for others to respond as well. But everything with regards to the budget is all moving forward as it should. That's all.
Good.
We also have a couple of motions here with regards to the 2021 audit. And the first one, be it resolved to approve the 2021 audit as presented. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor King, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? I made a few notes on our audit report, which we met with our auditor. She was on Zoom, but we met with her on June 21st. And I think it's safe to say that we received another passing grade with no problems. She said that we're in good financial position, and there was no items there. She couldn't identify any items that could possibly cause any concerns, which was good to hear. And we were actually applauded by her and her organization for the financial control systems we have in place regarding our expenditures. So we've enhanced that and improved that over the years, and compliments to our Director of Finance, Marie Searle, and the group. So that was a nice compliment from the auditor. And our debt ratio is still very low. It's between 11 and 12%. And according to Municipal Affairs, we are permitted to go as high as 30%. And that's when it becomes alarming. So we're way, way below the threshold. So we're good in that area in terms with the revenue coming in and our debt load. And next year, there's going to be some more debt taken off the books. I think that will save the town another roughly $150,000. So that could possibly lower our debt ratio, probably another 0.5% or 1%. And as I usually do every year, and I've been doing it since I became mayor anyway, and before that, because once every year, that's the process. You meet with your auditor and get the full report. And the very last question I always ask the auditor, what can we do different to improve things? And the answer she gave, she said, you guys are doing a good job, and just continue what you're doing. And I said, okay, that was music to my ears. That's what I wanted to hear. So there was nothing glaring there. We're in good financial shape. Our debt levels are certainly manageable, and we're good overall. So I was very pleased with the meeting we had and the report, the 2021 audit report. So Any questions or comments?
Just a comment. I wasn't initially going to comment, but listening to you, Mayor, I thought, I should jump in, I guess, to support the motion and the audit. I'm not an accountant. I read all the information. I tried my best to understand it, and I listened attentively when the auditor came. And to me, it kind of it makes me think about all professional services, right? You just get the expertise of the person in their field, and that person is a competent professional in their field, and gave us a passing grade. And I'm very comfortable and happy with that. And residents should be reassured that we are following through on those sorts of things and engaging the right people to do those checks. And it's a good validation of what staff is doing, right? And they are controlling things the way that they should. So I just wanted to say that. Well done. Yeah.
Good point. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so we have to vote on that. All those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried. I'm looking around like there's empty chairs. Well, that's what they had during the pandemic in the stadiums, right? And the curling. Like, you look at all, you wouldn't know if the place was blocked, right? What are we going to do with you? Okay, there's another one there. Be resolved.
Anyway, the next one under audit, be it resolved to approve the 2021 annual expenditure audit as presented. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor King, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried.
The next one under accounts, be it resolved that the amount tabled in the amount of $308,136.93, check number D2508 to D2556, and 043289 to 043420 be approved for payment. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor King, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
As Councillor Crowley says, we're paying the bills.
Yeah.
Paying the bills.
The next one is the loan for the dump truck. Loan, dump truck, and snow clearing equipment. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve to borrow $282,405.50 from the Royal Bank of Canada at a 5-year term, 10-year amortization at 5.88% interest, and a monthly payment of $3,118 to purchase the HV 607 dump truck and snow clearing equipment. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor King, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion?
One little point there. The last part of the motion, I think, is important for everyone to understand. Oh, yeah, you hit pay. That'll be a pay for it, right? But this loan is well within the borrowing power of the town, right, and will not cause any financial hardship upon approval. Okay, and it's important to understand. And the next sentence is similar to what I had said earlier at the meeting, which is about upgrading equipment and improving service delivery capacity. But I do think that's just an important point. I just skipped over it there. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried.
Let's go shopping.
Okay. The next one is the loan for the boardwalk project. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approved to borrow $43,800 from the Royal Bank of Canada with 3-year term, 3-year amortization at an interest rate of 5.56% and a monthly payment of $1,324 to complete the town's share of the boardwalk project. The boardwalk project has been completed through a funding agreement with ACOA and the province, and this portion of the payment is the shared cost of the town. This cost and the necessary borrowing were identified in the 2022 annual budget of the town. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion? And we've already had a discussion on this before.
That's phase 1 of the boardwalk.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Okay, all those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried.
And the last portion, the bank book balance is $52,721.63. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor King, and that is the agenda. We'll move on to new business, and I'll do the go-around, starting with the Deputy Mayor.
The only thing that I want to, no new business. I just want to say to all the residents of Holyrood, happy Canada Day on Friday. Happy long weekend, and, stay safe over the long weekend, because we've had a lot of accidents on our highway across the province, a lot of fatalities. So please stay safe. And a shout out to my dad, who turns 91
Here, here.
on Sunday, July the 3rd. So happy birthday.
And the Deputy Mayor's father,
Oh, it's Michael Woodford.
Mike Woodford, and Mr. Woodford served on council.
He
What
did.
year was that? Do
Oh.
anybody recall?
I have no idea.
Back
I know his
several
picture
years
is
ago.
out there in the foyer.
That's
But
right.
yeah.
Exactly. Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. There you go. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have 2 points, and the two has to do with, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and I know it's unfortunate that the other councillor with the outstanding last name is not here tonight, Councillor King. She always brought forward the fact, with regards to seniors, how there's no place for them to meet and socialize and all these other things. But the other thing is the fact that we don't have any place here right now in Holyrood that we can basically call our own. Kids can't have, there's no place here for a birthday party, there's no place for seniors to get together, there's no place here to socialize. And it's unfortunate. So, I mean, I think it's time for us to stop talking about a community center and start looking in the direction of building a community center. I think because if you looked at the population here in Holyrood now, there's a vast majority of seniors here, and there's a lot of kids here, right? And there's a lot of people in the middle of the road. And I think the longer we wait, we don't want seniors, first of all, being barred in because there's no place to interact with the rest of them. And we don't want kids having to go to CBS and other places just to have something as simple as a birthday party, right? I was out around the Bay Saturday to a wedding down in Brownsdale, and every community, if you want to travel down the Trinity Shore, every single community down there has a community center. One community, the town of Winterton, they just bought the home hardware, and they're converting it into a community center, right? They're building it up, they're fixing it up, right? So, and all these communities are a lot smaller than Holyrood. So, and it belongs, and I guess the key to it all is it belongs to the town. The town controls it, the town books it, the town gets the revenue from it, and all these other good things, right? So I think it's time for us to really start seriously looking at moving forward with a community center. And I think that should be our goal here. We still have 3 years left before we get paroled, right? And I think we should, by the time we're paroled at a council, I think we should have a community center here in Holyrood, right?
Well, if I could interject, that is an active file with the Department of Recreation and Community Events, and I've attended several of their meetings. It has been discussed at great length at many of those, and I think we all recognize, the need here for it. There's no question about it. There are some options that may become available in the near to medium term, but we'll see how that plays out. And it's being investigated right now, and we're on a fact-finding mission, and there could be something that will provide that accommodation until such time as a new building, because eventually we will need a brand new building that will be good to go in for the next 20, 30 years or longer.
Yep.
And just to add on to
we
that,
all agree.
And just to add on to that as well, I mean, it flows over into different departments as well. Recreation is looking into it, business development. We've all discussed that we are in dire need of a building here. And it is on our radar, and it's something that, you know, is a priority within the town, and hopefully in the near future, like you said, before our parole is up, that we're able to secure a building here for people to be able to use in Holyrood.
Yep. Be nice to be able to go and say, when you turn 80, I helped build that building, if you could speak. Right? And the other one, I don't want to deflog, the other one we should really look at, and I was talking to the fire chief, I'll just give a list of some of the things with regards to the fire hall, okay? You know, the lack of office space, for one. Parking, apparatus-based space. Vehicle parking, fit. New vehicles, the vehicles can just barely squeeze in there right now. So what happens if we get a new rescue vehicle or a new pumper or whatever, right? All these different things. There's no insulation in the ceiling. The electrical bill, I mean, is unreal when it comes to down there, right? Poor drainage in the apparatus bay. A lot of the stuff that they do, for example, checking hoses, checking the vehicles, they have to do it outside because there's not enough room in there to function. And the roof leaks, right? I mean, we have a fire service here now, probably second to none. They're highly trained. They're recruiting people as fast as they can. The town is growing by leaps and bounds. The fire department, or the building that the fire department is in, is not growing at all. We're still probably 10 years behind what we should be. The town is growing, so we really need to look. These are two things that we really need to look at in the near future. We need to look at a fire hall, and we need to look at a community center for the residents. Thank you.
And it all boils down to, you know, that fiscal balance with priorities, right? You know, we got our water and sewer issues. We've got roads, you know, we've got, you know, what we just talked about, a community center. So just, you know, it's there's a whole barrage of, you know, important issues that we want to address. But again, we have to be cognizant and mindful of the taxpayers, what we collect from taxpayers, and try to keep the tax rate as low as possible to make it fair for everybody. So it's a balancing act, and it's one that requires thorough discussion, but hopefully, you know, you lay all these out bit by bit by bit, and, you know, you try to get through it and get things done. So, but you're right, the fire department, and when that was built back in, that was back in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, that's the way things were done. A town hall was built, and they attached the fire hall to it. And I said that for years, you know, there's no drainage in the floor, like the walls, you know, are not made for water to be sprayed on when you're washing the truck. You know, there's no slope in the floor, there's no drainage, so they do have to take the trucks out, and even in the winter, because you don't want all the salt and everything to be left on the truck, so they have to bring the truck outside and try to wash it off instead of having to do it inside. Exhaust system, you know, the list goes on and on and on, so there's no question, you know, and we've all recognized that the call volume in the fire department is really going up, and they're doing a lot of medical calls, so there's such a demand here for our emergency fire service. And, you know, like I said, and I always repeat myself on this, but, you know, the protection and preservation of human life and personal property is one of the most, if not the most important service that we can provide to our residents. And we got to keep up with the times, and eventually we will have to deal with that issue to provide, you know, accommodations that meets the needs of the fire department. So I agree, but we'll do our best to try to find funds. Okay, that's it for you. Okay, Councillor Windsor, you can wrap it up.
Very well said. I never come in here, boys, with anything planned for Business Horizon, just whatever pops in my brain, right?
There you go.
And just listening to some of the conversation here tonight, two things I'm bring up. One was, you know, Canada Day. We talked about Canada Day, but what I like to tell people is I'm a Newfoundlander in the morning, and I'm a Canadian in the afternoon. So it's very important to remember, you know, the tragedy that occurred on July 1st in 1916 in Beaumont Hamel, and
right.
all those people made a supreme sacrifice, you know. And if you've never been to Beaumont Hamel, encourage everyone to do so. It's a very solemn place. I was there a number of years ago. I'd like to go back again. But anyway, you know, reflect in the morning, party in the afternoon, right? Celebrate what we have. And the second thing, it does kind of link to that. I wanted to acknowledge the mayor at the beginning in his mayor's update, acknowledging Pride Month, right? And how lucky we are. How lucky we are to live in a place where people are free from persecution, regardless whether it's your sexual interest or orientation, color of your skin, your religion, your abilities. It's just very well done, Mayor. I thought I was listening attentively to your speech, and I thought it was very well articulated and thoughtful. I think that was very well done. Thank you for doing that. And that's all I had to say. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And I'm going to leave it on that note. Good way to end the meeting. So, date of the next meeting is July 26th at 5:30. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Now, all hands don't go up at one time. Moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor King. All those in favour? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening.